The UFC is headed back to Mexico City this weekend, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about my favorite underdog bets for UFC Fight Night Kavanagh versus Moreno, a solid flyweight main event. We're going to go through every single underdog that I believe has a solid chance to win, a solid betting line as an underdog. There's a lot of wide odds on this card, so we're going to look into a few options that I think are valuable, and we're going to first look back at UFC Houston, look at the underdogs that we did cash on. Before we go ahead and get into the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and let's get it started. So a little recap of last weekend's underdog bets. We had Sean Strickland at plus 225, easy cash. Easy cash. I bet on him. I bet the plus 3.5 or the plus 5.5. And I also bet Sean Strickland money line. Cashed with absolute ease. Looked amazing through 3 rounds before finishing Fluffy Hernandez. I did pick Fluffy, but like I always say, picks are not bets. He was a great underdog at plus 225. Former champ, a guy who's beat most of the top 5. Beat Nasruddin Imavov, beat Brendan Allen, and just beat Fluffy. So Strickland looked great. Got it done inside 3 rounds. We also had Shitty Njokuani at like plus 110. I don't regret that bet. It was a very close fight. He just kept getting backed up by Carlos Leal. He was landing really nice shots on the back foot and really beating up Carlos Leal. But the dude still must be on roids because it's insane how he eats shots, how he just tanks those shots and just marches forward. It doesn't make sense. Carlos Leal won that fight, unfortunately, but I don't regret the Chidi Njokuani bet. I bet him at plus 110. The only bet I do regret is Ode Osborne at plus 110 as well. I thought he was going to look better, but again, you just can't trust Ode. His takedown defense is absolute ass. I'm done with Ode Osborne. We're never touching him ever again in a betting sense. He'll either chin you and just keep his UFC contract, or he'll just get smudged for a whole fight and walk down and march down. And that's what he did. Alibi Idris just walked him down, marched him down, was constantly throwing offense in his face and made Ode Osborne uncomfortable and got the takedowns when he needed to. So Ode lost, but we at least cashed the biggest underdog of the 3 that I gave you guys at plus 225. If you guys did tail that underdog, let me know in the comments down below. But we're going to get into the UFC Mexico underdog bets that I have for you guys for this weekend's fight card in Mexico City. Great time for the UFC to go back to Mexico. Perfect time with the cartel stuff going on. Perfect. Phenomenal time, UFC. Great job. But there's a few underdogs to look at this weekend because the odds must be the most inflated they've ever been. This is the worst betting card I've ever seen in my entire betting career as a UFC bettor. This is the worst odds I've ever seen. Minus 500, minus 600 left and right. The underdogs are insane. There's like plus 400, plus 500. Chris Moutinho's on the card at plus 600. I'm going to give you guys the most realistic underdogs that I do believe have a solid chance to win, where there is value, where there's some solid value, and who have a chance to get a bounce back here. And one of those guys is going to be Chito Vera plus 250. And I know what you're thinking, all right? Chito is on a 3-fight losing streak. He doesn't throw enough offense. He leaves these fights too close. He's in Mexico City fighting a Mexican guy who's on the come up. This is a terrible spot for Chito. But he's plus 250 against a new Mexican up-and-comer who has yet to fight anybody as durable, as difficult, and as tricky as Chito Vera. And Chito had a very close fight in his last one, had a close fight in his one before that as well. He's been fighting only the top-level bantamweights, including his last fight, Aiemann Zahabi, which he arguably won that fight. I was there live in Canada, in Vancouver, and I thought Chito could have won that fight. He was pissed he lost that fight because he left it to a split decision in Canada. Do we really believe that he's going to go into this fight in Mexico City against a Mexican guy and not believe that he needs to hunt this dude down for 15 minutes, that he needs to do enough to really secure this win? I think he knows now that it is time to not let these fights be as close. I just watched an interview of Chito talking about his fight with Aiemann Zahabi, and he was like, that was my fault for leaving it too close. I thought I had done enough. I rewatched it. I won round 1 and round 2, and I think he did because he dropped Aiemann in round 2. Round 1, he had more offense. But it's just the fact that he was in Canada at the end of the day. And he was fighting a very high-level guy in Aiemann Zahabi, and now he's fighting a lower-ranked guy in Martinez who has only had 2 fights in the UFC. And they've been fairly close fights. One was against a terrible fighter who's now not in the UFC anymore, cut. And the other one is against an old, washed-up bantamweight guy who's almost 40 years old. So I think Chito Vera still has that fire, still has that hunt to try and get this one done. So plus 250, man, I'm taking it. If you guys are betting on this, let me know in the comments down below. It is a little bit of a scary one because Chito, sometimes he's not going to put enough offense out there. But this is him fighting for his career right now. This is his final chance. He still seems motivated. He's still young. He's still 33 now. and he's still got a lot left in him. So I think he's going to shut down Martinez in Mexico City. Plus 250. It's a huge line, man. He went from almost even odds with Amin Zahabi to now being a plus 250 underdog. It's a great line. You can't really look past it. Or a plus 3.5. If you want all my bets for this card, check out my winnable. It'll be in the description down below. That's where I post all of my UFC bets. So you can get all my UFC bets for UFC Fight Night Mexico for free if you use the code YAP. So go check out my winnable. But there's multiple ways to play Chito Vera. Plus 250 is one of them. The plus 3.5 is a great bet. But we're going to move on to my next underdog bet. I've only got 2 for this card because there are a lot of wide odds. But this second one, my most confident underdog for this card, is a guy that's being way overlooked. And again, it's the co-main and the main event. Loner Kavanagh plus 175. I know what you're thinking. Loner Kavanagh, short notice, just got chinned by Charles Johnson. He's now going in a 5-round main event in higher climate where he's going to have to be acclimatized to the Mexican climate where it's worse. You have to have better cardio there. You have to have 5-round experience. You have to have 5-round cardio. And he's fighting a Mexican in Mexico. So everything is against Loner Kavanagh right here, right? And I'm going to be honest, this is a biased bet because I love Loner Kavanagh. He's one of the UFC fighters who follows me, who supports me, follows me on Instagram, all right? I've DM'd him a couple of times. He's an absolute G. And I am going to be rooting for him in this fight. But I'm also going to be betting on him because I believe that Brandon Moreno is getting washed. I think Brandon Moreno's on the out of his career. I'm not just betting on Loner Kavanagh for betting on Loner Kavanagh. I am betting against Brandon Moreno because I think Brandon Moreno is nearing the end of his career. He's 34, 35 years old in a very fast, very quick division where you need to be still quick. You need to still be fast. You still need to be getting good experience. You still need to be having high-level fights and constantly be improving. I don't see any improvement from Brandon Moreno. Whereas Loner Kavanagh, I've been watching a lot of his tape. I've been watching a lot of his training sessions. He seems to be improving. He's been talking a lot about his loss to Charles Johnson and how that's helped him, and how he's growing from that and how he's going to make the comeback as good as he can be, as good as he can make it. And I believe in Loner Kavanagh, man. I'm going to be honest. I believe in him. So plus 175, I like it. I really like it. In Mexico here, I think he wins the early rounds. I think he's the way better striker. It's not even close. All right, and you're going to call me crazy. I don't think it's even close. Loner Kavanagh is way faster than Brandon Moreno. He's way faster, way quicker on the feet. He can mix up the takedowns way better than Brandon Moreno. The only thing Brandon has against Loner is the cardio. And that's the only thing that worries me in this fight is a 5-round main event in Mexico City where the altitude is different, where he has to be acclimated to the altitude. But if Kavanagh is acclimated and he's good to at least win the first 3 rounds and bank the first 3 rounds, we win this fight. Kavanagh wins this fight. And I think he easily wins round 1. He's won every single round 1 in every single one of his fights because he's a very good starter. While Brandon Moreno is a bit of a slow starter. He'll have that high guard. He'll be, shifting and moving. But that's all he does. He shifts, he moves, he jabs. That's all he does. Loner Kavanagh mixes up way better. He's hungry for this fight. He's younger. He's on the come up. He may have just gotten chinned by Charles Johnson, but that was a fight that he was completely winning and just got defensively unsound for a second, let his chin in the air and got caught. He got caught, and that's what it was. If he'd beat Charles Johnson, would the odds be this way? I don't think they would. I don't think they would. Give me Loner Kavanagh plus 175 as my favorite underdog bet for UFC Fight Night Mexico. We've got Chito Vera plus 250, and we got Loner Kavanagh plus 175. Let me know in the comments down below who your favorite underdog for UFC Fight Night Mexico is. But like I said before, go check out my winnable to find all my bets for UFC Mexico. Use code YAP for the free weekend for a free 7-day trial, and I will catch you guys in the next video. See you.